DESIblitz.com.
Hi, my name is Shabana Azmi, and you're watching me on DESIblitz.com.
Hi, this is Faisal from DESIblitz.com. We're honored to have with us today renowned Indian poet, lyricist and screenwriter Javed Akhtar, along with eminent actor Shabana Azmi. Thank you both of you for joining us on DESIblitz.com. Aap kaise hain dono?
Very good, thank you.
Can I begin by asking you both, what was it like growing up in a family which had deeply rooted in poetic tradition?
I suppose, in psychiatry it is said that your personality is sealed, signed and delivered by the age of 8. It means whatever values are given to you, whatever you hear, whatever you imbibe through some process of osmosis, that is done at such a young age. And then after that, your personality is made, but you only keep collecting data. That's about all. So I suppose that way we have been very fortunate that we were brought up in atmosphere where women were working women. There was empowerment, they were free, they had their own opinions, so they were not subjugated by any stretch of imagination. Then there was a strong sense of secularism in our culture. I can say about Shabana also, that perhaps in our childhood we did not know that different festivals belong to different communities or different religions. We did not know that because in our homes all festivals were celebrated. Then because of the leftist leanings and left ideology of our parents, we developed some kind of empathy with the downtrodden, with the weaker section of the society and so on. So these values have been given to us by the virtue of our birth.
In very many ways, my upbringing was similar to Javed Saab's. We grew up where our parents believed that art should be used as an instrument for social change. And this was not shoved down our throats as a dictum, but in the way of life. Till the age of 9, I lived in a commune-like place where we had just small 225 square foot rooms each, and 8 families shared a common bathroom and a common toilet. But not having money didn't seem to be of any consequence at all, because these people were tuned to the sound of a different drummer. And what was interesting is that this was not the men alone, but also their wives, who were individuals in their own right and shared their worldview. And really for us, gender justice, fighting against social inequality, all these things were just a way of life that we were not even conscious of.
Shamanji, what are your thoughts on the direction of Bollywood, or should I say Indian cinema today? What are the good points and the bad points?
Well, I think we've traveled a long way, and technically we are on par with the best in the world. Earlier, I remember that the kind of films that were being made were completely different from what is happening today. And I think we've made huge strides, not the least of which is we finally got rid of a system where actors worked in 12 films at one time, and so obviously could not give real detailed attention to any. What we used to do earlier was we used to take about 3 months for pre-production and then take 2 years to make the film. Now you have a year of pre-production and 3 months to make the film, which is of course the way it ought to be. I think the advent of the casting director has had a very huge impact on performances today, even within mainstream cinema, because the ecosystem around the stars has changed. These casting directors are picking up people from theatre, they're picking up people from training institutes, and so have completely replaced the stock characters that we used to see earlier. There was a particular kind of person who played the the comedy. There was a certain kind of person who played the zamindar. You know, things, stock characters. I don't want to take the names of actors, but it was that. Now that has been completely freed, and we've got really very, very good character actors. And so I welcome that. I welcome the fact that the films are becoming more crisp, etc., etc. What I would still desire is that more attention is paid to the scripts, because of course people are trying to break the tradition and they will keep on experimenting. But I think ultimately in film, the script is the backbone. And if the writing isn't good, then no actor can salvage it. And so I think that if we were to concentrate on that, it'll be. But to me, the most significant thing that has happened is just in the recent past, we've had some women-oriented films that have been very successful at the box office. Both these films are not within the main box office mainstream cinema, as it were, but they're still trying to do something different, and they have got both critical acclaim as well as commercial success. That, I think, is going to pave the way for a lot of more women-centric films to be made.
Looking back at your career, you did quite a few, if I may say so, conventional, groundbreaking films like Earth and Fire. What attracted you to these films at that time?
Well, my background, for one, and also the fact that I'm a trained film actor, and at the Film Institute in Pune, I was fortunate enough to see the best of world cinema. So I was exposed to European cinema, to Japanese cinema, to Swedish cinema, which were not easily available in the theatres at that time. That shaped my aesthetics, and that shaped my choices. Plus the fact that I came from the background that I did. I think both these things shaped those.
Javed Saab, there was a time when dialogues from Indian films were something that even audiences learned and repeated. Why is that not the case today?
Films are not made in a void. They manifest whatever is happening in the society, whether the socio-political situation or the economic situation or whatever, is reflected in films one way or the other. What has happened, which is, almost tragic, that in last 30, 40 years, literature, language, poetry, these things were not on our priority list at all in our education systems. As a matter of fact, it was ignored. On the other side, communication is increasing, the speed of communication is increasing, vocabulary is shrinking. And when these two meet, then you have the language of Twitter, then you have all the nuances going out of the system, proverbs missing, turn of phrase dead. So that is what is happening. So when the language is shrinking in the society, it will reflect in the cinema also.
What can be done to improve and tackle this?
First of all, the realization. The first thing to correct yourself is to understand that we are going wrong, in all honesty. And then you can take the second step. So as a matter of fact, I am waiting for the first step at the moment.
Your amazing work as a screenwriter is of huge merit. Could you explain to those who do not know what is a screenwriter and what attracted you to this area of work?
Well, because I was born in a family where there were writers and poets and so on, so we used to get a lot of books, a lot of magazines in our house, and I started reading at a very, very early age. It sounds rather unbelievable, but I had read Gorky or say Pushkin or Dostoevsky or Chekhov. By that time I was 15. I'd finished all these writers. Or Dostoevsky. I have read Brother Karamazov perhaps when I was 14 years old. So, on one hand, if you are interested in fiction, And on the other hand, if you are interested in cinema, which I was, so it is totally natural to think that one day I'll go to film industry and I'll make this kind of a story, because you have read so many stories and you are familiar with so many characters and situations. So that brought me here in film industry, and I had come with the ambition that I'll become a film director and I'll make films. But as luck would have it, somehow my career moved towards writing, and it did well, and it was rather cushy. So I became a writer full time.
एक छोटा सा किस्सा बताऊंगा मैं आपको इनके बारे में कि एक बारी हमसे बहुत नाराज हो गए। हम एक फिल्म इनके साथ काम कर रहे थे, तो हमारी फिल्म का नाम था कुछ कुछ होता है। और तो इनको लगा ये टाइटल ठीक नहीं है, और इन्होंने ऐसे नाराज में, यार तुम लोग जो ऐसा कर रहे हो ये ले लो यार तुम, कि अब तो मेरा दिल जागे ना सोता है, क्या करूँ, हाय कुछ कुछ होता है, ये चाहिए तुम्हें, ये लो बेटा। हाँ, और जो एक्चुअली वर्ड्स हैं उस गाने के, जावेद साहब ने ऐसे ही गुस्से में हम पर फेंक दिए थे, और वो गाना इतना चला। तो जब ये गुस्से में वर्ड्स फेंकते भी हैं तो वो जो हैं एक्चुअली गोल्डन वर्ड्स बन जाते हैं। सो इनकी ये खासियत है।
Before the input, there has to be output. There should be a lot of intake. You have to read a lot. What we think that, अरे भाई मुझे तो फिल्म के गाने गाने हैं, why should I learn classical music? It's not right. When you learn classical music like Lata Mangeshkar or Shankar Mahadevan or Rafi Sahab or Manna ji, then film song will be so easy for you. If you have read big writers, if you have read all kind of literature, then you will have a vocabulary at your disposal. You will have so much of different shades or genres of language at your disposal that you will be able to write very easily. So, tayyari in music, there is a word, tayyari hai ki nahi. What I feel today that people are talented and they are enthusiastic, they have energy and keenness, but tayyari ki kami hai.
नहीं, और सिर्फ तैयारी की कमी नहीं है, if I may, it's not just तैयारी की कमी, it is an impatience to get on. It is a false belief that only a short period of training is enough. It boggles my mind that somebody who's interested in acting can actually believe that acting can be taught in 3 months. Sometimes as little as 3 weeks. The whole concept of riyaz, the whole concept of giving it time, that is being shortchanged completely. It's everything quick. And I think that's a great loss, because as artists, you keep growing. I'm not saying that 2 years is enough, but it is an attitude. When I spent 2 years at the Film Institute, I came out with humility, and I realized, oh my God, there's so much more I had to learn. And there are so many things 40 years later that I realized, oh my God, this is what they were trying to teach me at the Institute, because every day is a learning process. And if you think that you have skill and that is enough, it's not. Skill by itself is not enough. It has to be honed. It has to be shaped. There has to be commitment. You have to be prepared to give it time.
तैयारी के साथ मेहनत, how important is that?
I must recite this little share. Sateh means surface. मुझको गहराई में उतरना है. मुझको गहराई में उतरना है, पर मैं गहराई सतह पर चाहूँ.
क्या बात है. Exactly.
So they want depth on the surface. That is the problem nowadays. तो कहाँ 2 years? Who will give 2 years? Because if depth is available on the surface, they are interested in depth. Otherwise, forget it. That is the attitude. What happens that unintentionally and unknowingly, sometimes life trains you for years about something that you are going to do later. It is not that you join a school and keep learning. It doesn't happen. Now look at Shabana. Shabana, yes, she went to Film Institute, but then if you look a little behind that, then her mother was in the theatre. At a very young age, she was exposed to theatre, and that time she didn't know that she'll become an actor. So somehow the trajectory becomes such that you move through a path and keep on learning things unknowingly, that one day this is what you're going to do, and all of it that you are learning and all of it that you are imbibing will be of any help to you. So that too happens. I mean, it's very fortunate that it happens to some people, but it is not that at the age of 12 you decide that I'll do that when I'm 25. So for 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, you are doing the same thing. It just happens sometimes.
Shabana ji, whilst the list is endless, but do you have any favourite film of yours which you are personally proud of, and why?
What I'm going to say seems like I'm trying to be unnecessarily modest, but I mean it in all sincerity. I think that what I know about acting is just enough to qualify as an actor. To become a really good actor, there needs a lot more to be done. Like if you're a writer, then you have to at least learn the alphabet, right? So I think I've just learned the alphabet of acting, and there's a lot more, because when I see what other people are doing, I just marvel, and I said, oh my God, will I ever be able to do that? So there is a hunger for growth, but of course there have been very happy experiences, and to sort of narrow it down to just one film might be difficult, but Ankur continues to be a favorite film because it was my first film. Arth continues to be an important film because it was within the mainstream genre, and actually even 30 years later I have lots of women who come up to me and say that Arth transformed their lives. Similarly, Fire has had that kind of impact where lots of people come up to me and say, at least you place the dialogue on the table. There's a film Part that I did with Gautam Ghosh, which started my work with the slum dwellers. So I would say that these are the films that have shaped my career, and therefore their importance to me.
Coming back to you, Javed Saab, as the duo Salim Javed, you wrote epic films like Sholay, Dawn, Diwar, Zanjeer. Can you tell us any memorable moment from this time?
It happens very, very rarely, I think, to any writer, that you start, instead of writing, reading the character. When you are writing, actually you are reading. And you get so interested, so much interested and connected with the character that you wonder, now he is going to come after 2 scenes again, what will he say? And you also don't know, but you are excited that you are going to reach that scene where Gabbar will come or Vijay will come. So it has happened a couple of times with me when these characters had created a kind of a wonder for me, that I was interested to reach scene number 32 or scene number 16, whatever, because Gabbar will be there. And I was very keen to know that what is he going to say this time, and what words he'll use, and how he'll behave, and so on. So it happens very rarely. I think it has happened thrice in my career. One with Gabbar in Sholay, one with Vijay in Diwar, and one with Raja in a film called Mahal, where Anil Kapoor had played that role. I was following the character. I won't say that I was managing the character. Their language, their words, I just didn't know from where these words are coming. So that was a very, very interesting and exciting experience.
Coming back to today, what is your view, besides your own work, what is your view of the lyrics for songs in films today? Again, the good and bad points.
Lyrics, no. I mean, a lot is left to be desired. I can understand, first of all, the way lyrics are used in the picture nowadays. It is not very conducive for a good song, point one. Then the music, the tempo has increased to quite often to the point of frenzy. And on the other side, percussion is more often than not, is above the singer's voice. So it is very difficult to guess what the singer is singing. And when you ultimately somehow manage to find out what the singer is singing, then you realize that perhaps it was not worth it. Why did we try it? So this is the situation. But I think this too shall pass. Because this is not the palette. This is not what Indian audience or Indian listener wants. It is not in his DNA, this kind of music. And this shall pass. And again we will have music which will have medium tempo, where the words will be clear, easily heard, and there will be, when the words will be heard, they'll be given due importance. But it will happen. Because this is something that is not the part of Indian taste. It is being imposed on them.
Shabana ji, you mentioned women empowerment. You're known for doing women empowering roles in many Indian films. Do you feel women are represented properly in Bollywood, or is it still imbalanced?
Well, depends on whether you see the glass is half full or half empty. But certainly that there is a change in the way women are being represented in mainstream Hindi cinema. For one, almost inevitably, the women are shown as working. Earlier, just 10 years ago, if you watched mainstream Hindi cinema, you would believe that all that Indian women did is wear yellow chiffon saris and dance in the Alps, which is not the truth of India. The truth of India is that women are working, whether they are rural women or whether they are urban women. Till 20 years ago, they were cast in the traditional roles which were stereotypical of what is expected as a virtue from women. That is definitely changing. And so I would like to think that the glass is half full, but we have quite a long way to go.
Javed Saab, you fought for royalty rights in the past and then became chair of the newly formed IPRS in India. What is the progress with rights now?
It's wonderful. It's really, the situation is very good, and it's becoming better by the day. As a matter of fact, the kind of royalties we have started collecting were never seen before. The kind of royalties today the writers and composers are getting, they had never seen before. And we are spreading our network more and more, and we are in this process that we will be able to collect every penny, every pie of a royalty from countries of Latin America, from Scandinavian countries, from everywhere. Because Indian music is very popular. And there's a huge market, but perhaps we were not able to collect that kind of money, point one. Point two, then the system was such that it was not whatever little had was coming, did not reach the writers and composers. But now systems are right. Thankfully, government has come with laws which are perhaps the best in the world for composers, writers, for authors. And there was a kind of a battle between different groups and so on, but we have reached some honorable, sensible, fair compromise with all the parties. There are few people, few companies, we are still out of this circle, but sooner or later it is inevitable that they will join, they will have to join it. And big companies like Google and Amazon and Netflix and Star, all these are coming on the board.
Shabana ji,
See, when you're playing a character, then award should be the last thing on your mind. It shouldn't at all be a reason for your playing a particular part, because then you steer away from the truth of the situation. The thing is that today awards, as they exist in the Hindi film industry, are becoming a really television spectacles. And because of that, I think the value is decreasing somewhat. But awards are a nice way of appreciating your work. And when you get it, you feel happy. I don't think there's a single person who, when they win an award, feel, oh God, this is not worth it.
Final two questions. Shabana ji, what advice would you give to budding young women who want to act?
Don't do it. Don't do it unless your life depends on it, unless you feel so strongly about it, because it's a very cruel career to choose. Imagine facing daily rejection, going from audition to audition and failing and failing. You know, any business, any job that you do, you don't face everyday rejection, which you can as an actor. Oftentimes people feel that, all right, I'd like to be an actor because I have a nice face. I like to be an actor because I like to be in the limelight. I want to be an actor because I can dance well. These are all extraneous things. Like I said, it's a very difficult, very, very cruel profession, and you should do it if your life depended on it. Don't try it as one of the many things that you can try. And then once you've decided to act, then remember that you must continue to learn right up till the day your boots are on.
Javed Saab, before you leave, could you just recite one of your favorite nazms or poetry, please, for us?
चलिए, तो अभी भी एक recently I have written a poem, Sadish. As a matter of fact, you were talking about language and you had asked quite a few questions about language and songs and literature. Sadish. मुझे तो ये लगता है जैसे किसी ने ये साजिश रची है कि लफ्ज़ और मानी में जो रिश्ता है उसको जितना भी मुमकिन हो कमज़ोर कर दो, कि हर लफ्ज़ बन जाए बेमानी आवाज़, फिर सारी आवाज़ों को ऐसे गडमट करो, ऐसे गूंधो कि एक शोर कर दो।
क्या बात है, वाह।
ये शोर एक ऐसा अंधेरा बुनेगा कि जिसमें भटक जाएंगे अपने लफ्ज़ों से बिछड़े हुए सारे गूंगे मानी, भटकते हुए रास्ता ढूंढते वक्त की खाई में गिर के मर जाएंगे और फिर आके बाज़ार में खोखले लफ्ज़ बेबस ग़ुलामों की मानंद बिक जाएंगे। ये ग़ुलाम अपने आकाओं के एक इशारे पे इस तरह यूरिश करेंगे कि सारे ख़यालात की सब इमारात, सारे जज्बात के शीशा घर मुनहदिम होकर रह जाएंगे। हर तरफ जहन की बस्तियों में यही देखने को मिलेगा कि एक अफरा तफरी मची है। मुझे तो ये लगता है जैसे किसी ने ये साजिश रची है। मगर कोई है जो ये कहता है मुझसे कि हैं आज भी लफ्ज़-ओ-मानी के ऐसे परिस्तार व शैदा जो मानी को यूं बेज़बां लफ्ज़ को ऐसे नीलाम होने न देंगे। अभी ऐसे दीवाने हैं जो ख़यालात का, सारे जज्बात का, दिल की हर बात का ऐसा अंजाम होने न देंगे। अगर ऐसे कुछ लोग हैं तो कहाँ हैं? वो दुनिया के जिस कोने में हैं, जहाँ हैं, उन्हें ये बता दो कि लफ्ज़ और मानी बचाने की खातिर ज़रा सी ही मोहलत बची है। मुझे तो ये लगता है जैसे किसी ने ये साजिश रची है।
Thank you, Javed Saab, Shabana ji, for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you. We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.